My grandma, Susie Leday Rainey, has had a great impact on my life. She's very loving, giving, helpful. She defends you if she thinks you've been wronged and apologizes if she thinks she hurt your feelings. These traits are some of the things that she's learned as the eldest of 11 children. And I do not believe anyone who's come in contact with her could say otherwise. She's always encouraged me to be the absolute best that I could be. She always listens to me. While she's still my very loving grandma, some things have changed. She's been rushed to the hospital more times than I can count. She has the devastating disease Alzheimer's, which has not only affected her and our family, but also 44 million people worldwide. With her diminishing memory comes increased seizures, falls, lack of appetite, and cases of her blood sugar falling too low. Prior to this, she had diabetes, was constantly monitoring her weight, sugar, blood pressure, but now these things are becoming harder to control. Prior to my grandmother's first diagnosis, she's told stories I heard since childhood repeatedly. It's like a broken record. And it annoyed me because I was young and I had no understanding of what was going on. As time went on, the details of her stories became fuzzier, and she confused the amount of time in between events. Now she doesn't talk very much. My grandfather, Matthew Washington Rainey, cares for her every need. When I was in elementary school, I would get into my grandma's car and tell her everything that happened that day. And on the way home, we talked and laughed until our bellies ached. And when we got there, I clicked through Cartoon Network, and just the aroma of barbecue beans, sausage, and a buttered croissant filled the house, making my mouth water. As I ate, she helped me with my math homework. She told me baby stories about my mom and how she met my grandpa when she was 18. I used to get tired of eating the same thing every day, but now all I want is some barbecue beans with a croissant. She always helped me with my piano lessons and spoiled me in every way she could. We took frequent trips to the mall and often enjoyed our favorite dessert, lime sherbet. And in just a few years, this would all change. One vivid memory was October 31st, 2019. It was Halloween, and I was excited to run out of school and curl up on the couch and watch my favorite Halloween movie, Halloween Town. And while we wait for the school day to end, my phone rang. Without giving it a second thought, I let it go to voicemail. As I prepared for my freedom, I realized the call was from my grandparents' neighbor. And I just thought, God, please, just let everything be okay. A couple months prior, my grandma had gone days without eating. She was rapidly losing weight and strength, and the series of doctors couldn't figure out why. The car ride to the hospital was dreadful. It seemed like every car in America was on the freeway, going nowhere. And my heart instantly fell to my feet as I walked into her room. She had fallen in our house and was bleeding from her nose. I immediately saw the swollen, bruised black mass on her face above her busted lip. She broke her nose. She tried to get up and hug me. She said, "Ayana, I like it when we're together." And I just remember thinking, that's my grandma. Thankful her injuries healed quickly and she didn't need surgery. I miss how things used to be with grandma. I pray to hear her tell stories for the 100th time. I'm learning that even though she's not the same, she still shows her love for me. The other day I wasn't feeling well and she just hugged me. She always comforts me. I ask if I need anything, make sure that I'm okay. And I'm trying so hard to come to the realization that my grandma's never going to be the same. I love her even more now because I see her struggling to maintain her independence. She looks depressed at times because she doesn't always have the ability to express herself. And I'm trying not to be angry or depressed, afraid. or worried about my mom and grandpa. And they always look tired and stressed as they try to care for her. And I hate the disease. But I love my grandma so much more. My grandmother is an extremely outgoing and intelligent woman. Even in her current state, she has an incredible level of awareness. She may not know what is exactly going on with her health, but she always says, my mind isn't what it used to be, but I know I love my family. I love that she's had this big impact on my life. She's taught me that love is not about receiving material things, but about sharing memories and that we make as a family and the passion for helping others. Grandma's always enjoyed helping other people. Even now, she continues to offer her help to me and everyone she encounters. I learned from her how to be selfless and to be a better person. Her love, willingness to help others, and encouragement to be the best I can be help me be the person that I am today.
I am undersized. I am short. I am not big enough to play football. These continuous thoughts were slowly stripping me of my faith and beliefs to the point where my confidence was nearly non-existent. Teammates, family, and friends encouraged me often, but the one voice that struck a chord was my older cousin, John Paul. John is a former football player whose football career ended in high school. He is a great role model, friend, and mentor. The summer before my freshman year, we had an impactful conversation that changed the way I viewed myself as a person and football player. It was the summer of 2016 when I got an unexpected phone call at 6 in the morning from John. He said, "Hey, I will be there in 15 minutes and be ready." Tired and disoriented, I woke up, brushed my teeth, grabbed a quick snack, and headed outside. As he approached, I could hear the music getting louder and louder, causing a commotion early in the morning. As I got in the car, I noticed he was silent. I asked where we were going, but he did not reply. He just smiled. Feeling confused, I just sat back and enjoyed the ride. 15 minutes later, we arrived at a park. It was empty, not a single soul. We continued to sit in the car in complete silence. He said, "Life. What does life mean? What does it mean to you?" Stunned, not expecting those to be his first words, I drew a blank. I could not find my voice nor my train of thought. He exited the car and began to walk toward the bleachers, what he called Big Blue. As I started stretching, I searched for the answers in my head. During the workout, I kept thinking and thinking, but nothing clicked. I felt a connection with a new side of me that I never encountered before. Once we reached the car, he asked me if I had an answer. "Yes," I replied. But then he told me he didn't want to hear it and keep it to myself. Later that night, he called me to explain the importance of his question. He asked how I viewed myself as an athlete and what makes me who I am. Again, I could not answer. I was so wrapped up in my size that I could not find what made me a great athlete. He told me that regardless of what I look like physically, my purpose in life will help me grow as a person on and off the field. That one phone call changed my life as an athlete. Going into my freshman year, I was about 5 feet tall, 110 pounds, playing football and running track. I had a fantastic freshman season. I was a 2016 freshman football team MVP and made varsity the next year. As my high school football experience continued, I often remembered that phone call. I continued to encounter that obstacle that I heard over every day, size. I understood that it was not my time yet, so I observed and learned from the guys ahead of me. I worked out many nights and strived for greatness. I stopped running track, a pathway that I used solely for football conditioning purposes. Entering my junior season, I realized that I was not growing at the rate of the other kids. I was still the smallest guy on the field. I thought in my heart that I should have a starting spot, but the coaches thought otherwise. I moved from corner to running back, trying to put myself in the best position to get on the field. Regardless of my skill, and no matter what position I tried to play, every coach thought I was too small. I was a fantastic athlete, overlooked by coaches so many times. I decided to take that anger I felt and turn it into self-motivation. It was the first time I felt like all my hard work was going to waste. Many nights, I cried myself to sleep and wanted to quit, but I couldn't. As my season approached the end, I had a talk with the coaches. I told them that I was very talented and needed one chance. That chance came my senior year against Punahou High School. I started my first game as a corner. I ended the game with 9 pass deflections, 3 tackles, and an interception. The coaches were amazed. After the game, I cried. I believed in myself when no one else did. I learned that I am my own man and I can accomplish many things no matter what the odds are. After the season, I called John. I asked him if he'd come pick me up. When he arrived, it was quiet. He didn't have his music playing, which was unusual, but I ignored that and I got in the car. He said, "Hey kid, what's on your mind?" I told him that I didn't know if I wanted to play football in college. I was lost. I didn't know where my head was. It has been a long and hard journey, and I didn't know if I wanted to really relive all that pain and suffering again. I did not know if I wanted to prove myself all over again. Time passed as we slowly rode in silence. Felt like he was just as lost as I was. We drove and drove. It seemed like we were driving the streets looking for answers that we could not find. When he dropped me off at home, he told me he would call. I am still waiting.
Sephora, Ulta Beauty, Sally's Beauty. I walked into these beauty and cosmetic stores and my brain flips like crickets out in the country. 5,029 kinds of moisturizers make me dizzy, sometimes paralyzed. The featured ingredients include argan oil, coconut oil, or jojoba seed oil, promoting anti-aging. Others are for daytime application. A companion is needed for nighttime use. I peruse the eye creams, lip creams, neck creams, jellies, serums, toners, exfoliating, peeling, and plumping, further intensifying my brain freeze. There are just too many brands, too much stuff to choose from. Sheesh, all I really want is that my face not resemble dried apricots in a few years. When I walk into my daughter's bathroom, her counters, vanity, and drawers are stocked with products from Los Angeles to Paris, France. I too often have told her when I was growing up, we were poor and beauty products were simple. Why? Mostly because we had that number one good old multi-purpose Wonder Jelly, formerly known as Vaseline White Petroleum Jelly. For you youngins, Vaseline white petroleum jelly is now called just plain old Vaseline. As far back as I can recall, it was a family staple. That basic glass jar with white lettering on a blue label with a blue metal screw on top, a trusty go-to. VWPJ was originally patented in 1872 by chemist Robert Cheesebro. Little did he know, he provided for African Americans probably the only cosmetic of the 20th century that our skin could not drink up like the summer sun evaporates a puddle. Yes, Mr. Robert Cheesebro, we are grateful because we would be some ashy, and I mean ashy folks, because regular white folks lotion just does not work on our thirsty black epidermis. Ma, rub Vaseline on our faces before church and on those cold Michigan mornings before we headed out on our walk to school. I think they thought that the grease protected us from the whipping winds. Your legs were shined up like a new penny and those crusty knees got an extra application. From the age of 5 years old until I was about 11 years old, I roller skated daily up and down my street during summers. Me with busted knees was like a dog with a bark. And when the scabs fell from my knees, Vaseline was applied to speed up the healing. Applications to the elbows were a must. And your feet, of course, giving extra coating to the back ankle area directly above the heels. We had to use Vaseline even on our hands, throwing some extra love on the webbing between the thumb and pointer finger where that perpetual ash was sure to be. Babies' bottoms were saturated with Vaseline after every changing to prevent rash and raw butts. It also doubled for shoe polish on our Sunday going to church patent leather shoes. At 12, the nice lady who lived in the apartment next to ours pierced my ears with a needle and sewing thread. She told me to apply Vaseline to a 1-inch broom straw after first burning each end. After 2 weeks, remove the thread and insert the straws into the fresh holes. Vaseline even sufficed for hair grease if we were out of the blue bergamot or Dixie peach or Royal Crown dressing oils. On top of all of that, it was gender neutral. Everybody in the house went for the Vaseline white petroleum jelly, a pocketbook savings for sure. But first and foremost, it did the job. Old Ash didn't stand any kind of a chance against the mighty Vaseline. And when I established my own household, I continued to purchase Vaseline, but due to the overwhelming bombardment of newer, hipper products, didn't use it quite as much. Of course, nothing worked on my feet like Vaseline, and it was the best lit moisturizer ever. I think it made me feel more sophisticated to purchase fancier, popular cosmetics and beauty products. Vaseline, after all, was what my mama and old aunties used. It was not in an attractive container. Where were the scents of lemon or wild berries? How about an enviable romantic commercial on TV where couples flirtatiously slathered Vaseline on each other? Not. Poor Vaseline was too homespun, too ordinary, too basic. Becoming a mother in the mid-1980s meant going for products and brands used during my childhood. Nothing was better at preventing diaper rash. So a modernized plastic jar of Vaseline returned to the shelf. I distinctly remember my precocious 4-year-old, an early reader, pronouncing it Vaseline. Over the years, its use was diminished again. It was around, but so diminished in my life that I purchased a miniature travel size, mostly used for our lips. And currently, old Vaseline and I have parted ways. Probably beginning in the early 2000s when my child left home for college. However, I am sure that I eyed amongst her multifarious collection of sundries and cosmetics, a jar of good old Vaseline. So I'm happy to say the tradition continues on some level, however minute. What I know for sure is that I am an earthy woman, preferring to use organic products derived from plants and seeds without additional synthetic yuck included. Give me products that I understand, okay? I know what lavender is. I have fallen in love with essential oils. I will not purchase any cosmetics containing 10 completely unfamiliar ingredients that I cannot pronounce. The powerful marketing fueled by American capitalism has failed to convince me into ingesting through my skin cosmetics or beauty products to the point of overstocking my bathroom counters. I like to keep it real simple, even with makeup. I rarely wear foundation. I blush only. I have maybe 2 or 3 max variations of lipstick colors. I own an eyeshadow combo kit I have literally had for decades. Probably should be thrown away. Maybelline eyeliner and mascara from the local Target. That's all, folks. As I have reached my mid-60s, all pretense and vanity have dissolved into a comfort with my authenticity. No, to be most accurate, I don't give a flying finger what anybody thinks. This is at least 95% of the time. I am found drifting more towards mama's ways of my youth. Arm and Hammer baking soda for brushing teeth, then a water and peroxide to rinse. Witch hazel as an astringent applied with white cotton balls to my face. Epsom salt, bath soaks, adding an essential oil of my choosing. Raw honey mask for moisturizing. Vinegar, hair rinses to restore pH balance. But interestingly, I have not been drawn back to mama's good old Vaseline white petroleum jelly. But you know what? I went back to another mother. Every day for the past 10 to 12 years or so, I have massaged into my body from shoulders to toes the Vaseline of Africa. Shea butter, extracted from the shea tree. Boom, shakalaka laka, boom.
Until the age of 9, much of my life was filled with hard knocks. Most people have never experienced or could even understand the struggles that I have gone through. My life today is nothing compared to what it could have been. And it's because of 3 main factors: optimism, Long Beach, and adoption by my mother, Desi Davis. Factors that ultimately changed my life and revealed my purpose. To explain my identity today, you must know my story. My name is James Davis and I am 17 years old. I have a twin sister, Destiny, and 9 other siblings, most of whom I do not know, and 2 that I learned about recently. My biological mother is an abusive drug addict who was incarcerated for theft and burglary of my maternal grandmother. My father could be anywhere at this point. We have not spoken in years. I recently learned that he may be incarcerated for murder. My twin sister and I lived in poverty with our biological parents when we were first born. We were taken away and put into the California foster care system for the first time at the ripe age of 2. Now, if you notice, I said for the first time. After my grandmother regained custody, we were put in the care of Mary Davis, my adopted grandmother. She made it her goal to find a permanent, suitable home for us. Her eldest daughter, Desi Davis, took care of us for 5 years. We were happy and optimistic. We were shown endless waves of love from our new home, our new mom, and an extended family. It was like nothing we had ever experienced. It was a happy period in our lives upon we still reminisce till this day. By the time we reached the age of 7, this all changed. We were snatched from Desi and put back into the home of our abusive biological parents. California calls this the reunification, family reunification. I call it retarded. We found ourselves back in the darkness that we thought we had escaped. For the next 2 years, life was filled with more poverty and disappointment. These were dark times. My parents could barely afford to put food on the table, clothes on our backs, or keep a roof over our heads. We bounced around from place to place. We were like nomads in the city of Long Beach. As a kid, I could never understand what was going on, but oddly enough, I was not entirely unhappy and even optimistic at times. I will always remember something that my adoptive mother had said to me. You'll have the choice to change your life in the future. Make the right one. Now, I didn't understand what she meant, but in time, I would. Time grew, and so did my misery. After a year of living with our biological parents, they decided it was too much to handle and passed us over to our grandmother, like a pass in a basketball game. And they went on with their little sad lives. My grandmother willingly took us in without question and raised all of us. Swarms of social workers and psychiatrists came to speak with me and my sister. It was said that we needed therapy to cope with our problems. I recall one of the psychiatrists that came to speak with us. She was a Black woman. Although I do not remember her name or anything personal about her, she had a lasting impact on my life. She made me draw pictures and asked me about my past. And everything I drew, she wrote down and filed in a red leather bag. I later learned that our adoptive mother hired her in an effort to get us back. And this went on for a year. During this time, we were going to school infrequently and having as much fun as we could manage as children who were left in the darkness of the system. Our biological parents eventually returned and took us from our grandmother like a thief in the night. And along with them came my younger brother, Jaden, who was a newborn. After that night, I began searching for who I was going to become in the future. And the only thing that crossed my mind was what our adoptive mother told me all those years ago. It played back in my mind like an old record skipping because of a scratch, and I still did not understand what it meant. For 2 years, 5 people lived in an RV on the side of the Delamo station, directly across the street from the swap meet. For 2 years, my newborn brother and twin Destiny slept on a couch for what we used as a couch and a table. For 2 years, I slept in a damn chair. Do you know how it feels to sleep in a chair for 2 years straight? Have you ever experienced or heard anything as depressing as that? From that moment on, all hope within me diminished like wood in a fire, leaving only the ash of depression. We had to take a train to Long Beach and then take a bus to San Pedro to get to school every day. My life was a living nightmare that I could not wake up from. It was terrible. You would think that someone would come and save us from this living hell. But before that happened, we were thrown into several more foster homes. My younger brother was placed in a different home than me and my twin sister, and it was sickening. We could not talk to him or see him, and frankly, we did not even know where he was. A month later, we were taken to court. And that is where I saw my brother again. We felt like close strangers. In court, we learned that our adoptive mother, Desi, had been fighting to get us back for years. She was depressed, and she even quit her job when she lost us. She went broke paying for lawyers and therapists and anyone who could help us get us back. She sacrificed her whole life for us. I could not imagine how anyone would ever do that. When we saw her for the first time in 4 years, we didn't remember anything about her. It was like we had been brainwashed until she knelt down to me and said, "Do you remember what I told you?" My whole life flashed before my eyes, and suddenly I remembered everything. She had finally received permanent custody of us, and my younger brother went to live with her younger sister. This meant that we would finally be able to have regular visits with him. We have finally been relieved from all the pain, the torture that we had gone through. We were given the opportunity to actually do something in life. I now knew what it felt like to be happy and an optimistic child again. That was one of the best days of my life. I finally found myself. I finally had a goal in life. And I vowed to never be like my biological parents. The way they treated us used to scare me. You know, reflecting on everything, I really should thank them. It was because of them that my sister and I are now in a good, stable home. I have my own room, my own bed, and as much food as I could stomach. My mom, Desi, made sure we never had to struggle for anything. We are truly blessed. I am now a senior in high school with aspirations to be a social worker. I want to help kids in the foster care system. I've been admitted to California State University, Dominguez Hills, and I will be majoring in sociology. I am committed to getting my Bachelor of Science in Sociology and becoming a first-generation college graduate. That is, if my twin sister doesn't inch me out first. I also plan to be the first-generation millionaire, and rest assured, I will pay it forward and backwards. Salute to my mother, Desi Davis.
Frida Kahlo stated, "I think little by little, I'll be able to solve my problems and survive." My name is Destiny, which Webster defines as the something to which a person or thing is destined. Fate. The irony of my name somewhat amuses me. My story bears semblance to the other 55,000 children in the California foster system. many of whom, like me, are African American. I was born to a drug addict mother. At the age of 5, I became a ward of the state of California and was placed in a string of foster homes with complete strangers. To make matters worse, I was also separated from my brother. Needless to say, I felt alone, angry, afraid. I didn't even understand those emotions at the time. I just knew I felt worse than I ever had in the entire 5 years of my life. I distinctly recall asking, what's going to happen to me? I pondered whether my maternal grandmother, who I later learned was suffering from breast cancer, would come for me. Had she forgotten about me? For many years, I couldn't understand how a mother and a father could choose a needle or snort over their own children. And why was their next high more important than me? Frankly, I still don't know the answers to the question of my heart. However, over time, I realized that it was these experiences in my life that instilled a fight, determination, and drive so profoundly within me. It created a conviction in me to always hold myself accountable and responsible for my actions and how they affect others. I made a commitment to try my best to never cause anyone pain. As I reflect on who I am as a person, I could best describe myself as a collage. Why a collage, you ask? Well, the person I became is a summation of all the events that have occurred in my life. The good, the bad, the ugly. For example, my most vivid memory of my biological parents is that they were addicted to drugs and succumbed to a lifestyle of chronic substance abuse. My father was later in prison for murder, which he claims was in self-defense. I once read an article, 7 Crazy Ways Addicts Fund Their Drug Habits. And sadly, that article rang true for my biological parents. These life experiences became a part of the picture collage of who I am today. And the sad nature of the events in my life have caused me to be extremely cautious, strained, and possess a strong willpower. My adoptive mother, a single African-American woman, took me and my twin brother into her home. She nurtured us as if we were her own. I saw her struggle to make ends meet, work tirelessly to provide for us. Her sacrifices taught me how to be resilient, hardworking, and goal-oriented. With my adoptive mother's love and the kindness of time, I'm learning to overcome self-doubt and practice self-love. I'm learning that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome fear. From an academic perspective, I am a National Society of High School Scholar recipients. I achieved honor roll throughout all my middle school and high school years. I am a multi-year principal's honor roll recipient, and I rank in the top percentile of my graduating class. I am a Scholastic Achievement Award recipient of the Lakewood High School Junior Varsity Girls Volleyball Team, and the 2019 Outstanding Scholastic Achievement Award recipient of the International Church of God in Christ. My struggle has made me a fighter. It has shaped my thinking, my attitude, and my mindset. I never quit or make excuses. The world will make room for me as I forge my own path. I will make my mark and I will be outstanding. Soon I will be a freshman at the California State of Long Beach, where I'm studying nursing. I will be the first generation college graduate. I also plan to obtain a master's of science in nursing. Who knew a Black girl from the California foster care system could survive, and maybe even thrive? God knew. I'm committed to being the first generation college graduate in my family, and I want to make my adoptive mother Miss Desi Lynn Davis proud. I think that little by little, I'll be able to solve my problems and survive. Little by little, I will overcome my past and begin to thrive. And little by little, I will become that me that I am meant to be. And little by little, I will change the world as the world has changed me. Enjoying summer days, eating popsicles and ice cream.
And all the wrong things.
Kids chilling at the park, the beach.
Ooh, and the big movie screen. Oh, neighborhood kids riding the bikes, clothes flying behind them, making parachutes in the wind.
We raced.
Ooh, we cruised and talked.
And some like me were even cool enough to ride our bikes hands-free. We laughed in the sun as it warmed our faces, free from the house to explore new places. And there were times when we were out just a little too long, navigating shortcuts as we went along, as we enjoyed the thrill racing against the clock, trying to beat the sun home.
Because we all knew if we were not in the house before the street lights hit, Mama would be waiting for you at the door with the belt in hand.
And your ass was about to get lit.
Oh, the men folks running the barbecue pit, talking trash and telling a few lies. Working on being the next grill king. Dry rub versus wet basting. The verdict is still out on that one every time. But Mama's peach cobbler, oh no, that was the real deal. And as my Aunt Faye used to say,
tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama.
And after eating that treat, you are truly done for the day.
Don't forget the mac and cheese, potato salad, and sure enough, sweet potato pie.
Love.
Or enjoying a slice of cold watermelon. Ooh, it was so sweet.
We always look for another piece, but it was gone. So we ate all we had, right down to the rhyme.
Ooh, music bumped, Motown in the background, and the sounds of Philadelphia was rocking the joint too.
Fingers pop,
hips sway,
joy and laughter filled the place.
And everyone was trying to do the latest dance craze. People lined up right on time.
And there was always time and room for the soul train line.
Hand cranked vanilla ice cream, turns taken all around. Rock salt mixed in and crushing with the ice. What a glorious sound.
Somebody just slapped their bones and dominoes. Now folks gotta draw from the boneyard. It was hard, and that's the way that goes. Now over at the bid whiz table, all hands fly as folks get up from a hot card-seated table. Ooh, Aunt Margie and Leona ran to Boston like nobody's business. Now folks are mad because they don't know how to play their hand, and that's how they cost them the game.
Late folks come around, and when the food almost gone, make no mistake, they seem to always make a plate. Leave a scene without a trace, and the last piece of the pie is gone.
Shoot, those were some of the best summer days. Where'd the time go? I will cherish those memories, the people and the past.
And keep them close to my heart. And never let them go.
You never know where your life path might take you. It's full of unexpected twists and turns. Being an activist and very much involved with the well-being of Black people, my friend Halasi encouraged me to attend a meeting of the Hurricane Katrina Support Council. It was at this meeting I met Reverend Edward J. Pierce. Katrina had displaced many of his family members from New Orleans, a city he dearly loved, and therefore he had a personal interest in this group. EJ was the name I later gave him. He was tall and well-built with a caramel-colored skin. His smile was charming. He was a dashing, good-looking guy with a dynamic personality. EJ often commented, "We as a community have to be prepared for any emergency." His training by Homeland Security The Los Angeles Fire Department, FEMA, and certification by CERTA allowed him to schedule and promote classes in our community. He was active in all levels of community disaster preparedness. He knew what classes were offered and where we could go for CERTA training. I was impressed with his dedication and his credentials. Over time, the group relocated from Caress Center to my place. The popular group activity was collecting donated clothes to send to New Orleans. The clothes were sorted during our weekly meetings in my home. However, only about a third of the clothing donated was in acceptable condition. Unfortunately, we disposed of so much that the trash cans were too heavy for me to pull out to the curb. Guess who traveled 30 blocks to get to my house every week to take out the trash? EJ. Yes, he remembered trash religiously. Every week we parted with him speaking these words. I'm a keeper. I knew what he meant. He would be my perfect mate, but I was not interested. I said, yeah. And quietly closed the gate behind him. Eventually, he added another phrase. I'm house trained. The only thing I remember married women complaining about their husbands was leaving the toilet seat up. His statements were amusing and becoming more intriguing. But I just smiled. My retirement celebration was approaching, and so after knowing EJ for about 3 years, I decided to hire him as the DJ for the party. I later found out that he was captivated by what he learned about me from others. He listened intensely as speaker after speaker came to the podium to illuminate my life's work as an activist. He set his eyes on the prize, and it was at this party that he asked me, is there a man in your life? What a question. I thought to myself, it wasn't any of his business. However, I told him there was no man in my life. For him, that statement represented a green light. He started calling more. Of course, we always talk about New Orleans, but as far as he was concerned, if there was no guy in my life, why couldn't he become that guy? I tried to make it clear that he was too young. With a 10 years age difference between us, I was the old one. Besides age, he was a disc jockey and he was fine looking. That was 3 strikes. Mentally, I had pictured my ideal male's characteristic. EJ was not my perfect man. My ideal man was in his 60s, college educated, had a prosperous professional career, and earned at least 6 figures. But my objection did not faze EJ. He refused to take no for an answer and continued to try to win me over. He made it a habit to sit next to me at church every week. He also joined my table at the church's monthly birthday celebrations. He looked for me at every public event. One of those nights, when I felt like going out to have some fun, I remembered I heard about a great dance studio in Inglewood. I couldn't go without an escort because I'm old-fashioned anyway. The only guy I could think of was EJ. After a few days, I gathered the nerve to call him. He readily accepted my invitation. I was surprised to find out that this man could dance. I had no idea that he taught beginning ballroom classes. He talked, we talked, laughed and danced all night, thoroughly enjoyed each other's company. At the end of the evening, he said to me, "This is like a date." I realized this was a big mistake. I had opened the door and didn't know how to close it. Then I began to wonder if I wanted to close the door. Reverend EJ. I don't know why everyone at Caress referred to him as a reverend. I remember he was a very active member. I also knew he was raising his son as a single parent. I watched him operate. He was indeed an activist, and he had other characteristics that I liked in a person. I consulted my tarot card reader, whom I saw at least once a year. She told me EJ was a gift from heaven. Wow, that was hard to believe. However, after decades of an established relationship, I trusted her. Her readings had always been accurate. However, I was still not sure. I had reservations about him. EJ, the DJ? Get real. Shortly after that, we started dating. Every Friday night at my house, we put on our dance shoes in the video, Mr. Smooth. As we watched the video, we practiced. He was the king of romance. We attended many ballroom events together. Sometimes he was the DJ. He was openly affectionate. He would get on one knee to fasten my dancing shoes. We were an item. And he made sure everyone knew it. We often hugged and kissed on the dance floor. He would whisper in my ear. Another twist in my life occurred when I contracted cryptococcus during my travels to Egypt or Ghana. I was hospitalized for 16 days, unable to ingest food or water. I felt that I could not take another day of suffering in this condition, but whenever I looked up, there was EJ, his smiling face. And that strengthened me. He was my first visitor in the morning and the last visitor in the evening. The nurses were very understanding and often allowed him to stay beyond visiting hours. After establishing a meaningful and loving relationship for 3 years, I faced cancer for the second time. I confided in NJ during our courtship that I was a cancer survivor. He was always by my side. He insisted on taking me to my appointments. His unconditional love finally made me realize that age is just a number. EJ's act of kindness touched my heart. Yeah, our love was deep and abiding. What a twist in my life. After years of a beautiful love affair, we agreed to join our lives. On a perfect August afternoon, we had a beautiful African-themed jumping the broom ceremony, an African-American tradition dating back to the 1600s. Enslaved Africans in this country were not permitted to marry legally, but by jumping the broom, couples confirmed their commitment to each other. The ceremony was held at the historic African-American Firefighter Museum. We held hands. He kissed me, and we jumped over the broom. The traditional white gown was out of the question because both of us were into the principles of African spirituality. I wore a long lime green lace embroidered with lime green rose petals and pearls. My dress made to match his African outfit, Grand Booba, which had lime green trim. On that glorious August afternoon, the impossible happened. I married my best friend. After our ceremony, he selected a particular song that would become an annual tradition. Every year, he chose our specific song for that year. In 2017, Marvin Gaye's A Very Special Love Affair was our Love Hymn. We love spending time together. Although EJ didn't share my interest in hiking or tennis or bowling, when I indicated that I loved the beach, he put the bikes in his truck. We headed out to our favorite beach. Biking became our Saturday morning tradition. As our affection continued to blossom, so did our travels. We traveled Las Vegas, Phoenix, and we took many road trips, especially to the Bay Area. A unique trip we took together was driving across the country. In 2015, we drove from Los Angeles to Poconos, Pennsylvania, to attend the Hubert Cooper family reunion. We spent 4 days with my family in New Jersey and New York, and then moved on to the Poconos. We had many adventures. Together, we enjoyed sites like the Grand Canyon, Albuquerque Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, and best of all, the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. We also made yearly trips to New Orleans to spend time with EJ's family. After years of adventures together, an incredible, unexpected event happened. EJ became sick. For 3 months of the year, he took no action regarding the pain he was experiencing in his side and back. Finally, on a sunny April morning, EJ was hospitalized. After receiving the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer and its enormous growth, we agreed that chemo was not the answer. Chemo did not work for his other family members. Why bother going through the process, we thought, when his 2 sisters and his mother succumbed to the same illness? Pain management was his only concern, and those were the appointments he kept religiously. After a month of struggle with medications, I convinced him to try holistic medicine. The approach included a clean, meatless diet of organic fruits and vegetables. Freshly prepared food was required daily. Raw food was prepared and eaten as much as possible. The restrictions were many, including eliminating processed food, chips, sodas, and junk food of all kinds. This was particularly difficult since EJ loved sugar. He followed this regime for almost 3 months. It was very demanding, burdensome, and grueling for him. It was a tough decision to make. Having had several family members who died from pancreatic cancer and having to accept that it was hereditary. On October 26, at age 60, EJ, the love of my life, joined his ancestors. Up until the last moment, EJ and I took care of one another. Our love was a divine gift sent from the Mother, Father, God. Yes, life is full of unexpected twists and turns. Our love is a testament to the power of love. We respected and appreciated each other. He greeted me daily with, "I adore you." One should not have any preconceived notions about who their mate will be. It's with appreciation and gratitude that I share our love story.